Hello and welcome to another edition of Fisher Football Focus. I'm your host, James Bailey. This past Saturday was a big one, the 12th annual Courage Bowl. Fisher traveled to Brockport to try to keep their perfect 11-0 record in Courage Bowl games intact. Last year's game was a 42-41 double overtime thriller. Let's see if this matchup lived up to the hype. Things got going fast for Brockport. They took the opening kickoff all the way down the field and got an early touchdown from star running back Dan Andrews to take an early lead. Fisher then responded with their own 70-yard touchdown drive, capped by Dylan Harrington's 21-yard touchdown catch from Matt Nayton. It was the true freshman's first touchdown and knotted the score at 7. Brockport punched right back as Andrews stretches this 6-yard touchdown run all the way to the right pylon, giving the Golden Eagles back the advantage. Then after another Andrews touchdown, Brockport would go deep. Brian McKean connects with Ian Gilhausen down the right side, 53 yards to give the Eagles a commanding 28-7 halftime lead. Fisher came out of the half and began their comeback effort on the first drive. Nayton scored on this QB sneak to cut into the lead. Then later in the third, Nayton drops back and lofts one to sophomore William Kuhn, who makes an acrobatic catch to bring Fisher back to within a touchdown. On the first play of the fourth quarter, the Cardinals bring it all the way back. Nayton hits a wide-open Wyatt Staley for a 50-yard touchdown strike to knot the score back up at 28. Brockport regained the lead with a field goal, but Fisher came right back. Nayton connects with Kuhn again. This one goes 68 yards on the left sideline to give the Cardinals their first lead of the game, 35-31. Brockport got the ball back, needing a touchdown. Who do they turn to? Andrews, of course, who powers in from a yard out for his fourth touchdown of the game, returning the lead to the Eagles 38-35. Fisher regained possession with 1:35 on the clock, needing at least a field goal. Nayton starts to drive with a 14-yard strike to Will Blake across midfield. A few plays later, Nayton scrambles to get the Cardinals into the red zone. He would hit Mike Colicchio on a slant that would bring the Cardinals down to the 1-yard line. With 20 seconds left, Nayton in the shotgun, no timeouts, audibles to get under center. He takes the snap, goes off to the left side, and dives into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. The Cardinals would end up winning 42-38 in the 12th annual Courage Bowl. Nayton had a dominant performance, putting up 386 passing yards and all 6 Fisher touchdowns. Kuhn ended up with 140 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. The Cardinals are now 4-0 on the season and 2-0 in the Empire 8. After the break, you know what's coming. Head coach Paul Vosberg will be making his weekly appearance, so stay here.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined yet again by head coach Paul Vosberg. Happy to have you back, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
So, first, let's just start off with that final touchdown. Nayton audibles out of the shotgun, comes under center, and kind of makes a pretty gutsy play there to try to run it in there with under 20 seconds left, no timeouts. If he gets tackled there, you don't know what you're going to get off on a fourth down play right there. So, was that what he did? Was that kind of discussed in a timeout, or was that just kind of a field play for Matt?
No, that was a planned play, and Coach Kramer had come up with that play earlier, and we thought we could get it. And Nayton did a great job because when he got up there, he knew he was going to sneak it, but then he noticed that the defense was piling to the inside, and so he took off to the outside on his own. And of course, he's a big fella and ran the guy over and put it in the end zone. So it was a great job. We did feel that if we didn't get it in, we would still have time to line up a field goal and at least tie the game at that point. But Nayton put it in and got the lead. Yeah, exactly.
So starting back over with the beginning of the game, started off 7-7, kept pace early on, then obviously Brockport went on that spurt, ended up going into half up 28-7. Things didn't look great for you guys there. What were you telling your guys there at halftime when you're down by 3 touchdowns to keep them in that game?
Well, I said, guys, we're not going to dream up of anything real exotic that's going to get it. We need to just play better football. We need to go out and block and tackle better, get off blocks, do some things defensively. I thought offensively, I said it at halftime, I said, we can move the football on these people. We've shown we can move the football, so we just need to hang in there and do what we're supposed to do and just be better fundamentally and make sure we concentrate and take it one play at a time, one series. We're not going to get all the points back at one time. So just take your time and let's get it going and let's play a good 30 minutes and we can win this game.
And so then obviously the second half happens and you guys go out there. It's kind of a bit of a shootout. Brockport scores to take the lead with 1:35 left, take a 3-point lead. As a spectator, I had zero doubts that you guys would at least get into position to put yourself in a position to score. As a coach right there with a minute and a half left, how confident were you in your offense be able to just move right on down and put yourself in that scoring position?
Well, we felt very good about it. We practice our 2-minute drill several times a week, and usually I only give them 1:25 to do it with 1 timeout. So 1:35 with 2 timeouts, that was the bonus for our offense, and they got it done. So, and most of all, more than the coaches feeling confident, I think the players felt confident. They do this in practice every week, and we practice this scenario. And not just once a week. We practice at least twice a week this scenario, and we've been doing it all year long. We haven't had to do it, but this game we had to do it, and the guys got it done and did a great job with it.
So really, obviously, the offensive explosion really came out, and there was obviously some adjustments made there. But defensively, you guys finally were able to keep them off the board. So obviously, going in down by 3 touchdowns and able to make the biggest comeback in program history. What was really the one thing that kind of swung things your way in the second half?
Well, I think stopping them in the third quarter. They didn't get any points in the third quarter, so the times we were on the field, we did get to stop them. And again, we knew we could score, and we did. And I think our kids all knew when they went into the fourth quarter down, and we had the ball to start the fourth quarter. It was 28-21, and I think they felt pretty confident. Okay, this is only 1-score game now, so let's get it done, and so on. So I think that winning the third quarter the way we did, shutting them out, and us putting points on the board, allowed us to win that fourth quarter and win the game.
So undefeated in Kerrville, still 12-0. Another close one. Obviously, we mentioned last week the double overtime game last year. Another throw down the wire this week. Is there anything particular between you and Brockport that kind of makes the games close like they are, or is this kind of the way they play out?
Well, the way they play out, but 2 very good teams and getting after each other. And Brockport's a well-coached football team with some very good football players. So it's going to make a tough day on anybody, and it was a tough day on us, but our kids prevailed.
So you've had a lot of receivers come up big, kind of complimenting Mike Colicchio, who's kind of established himself, obviously, as the most experienced number 1 guy. But a guy that's really kind of established himself a little bit in that number 2 position has been William Kuhn. Kind of really broke out. He's had some first 3 weeks were pretty solid, but this past week, really breaking out 140 yards receiving, two touchdowns. Really kind of sent a message in the E8 to kind of be someone to mess with. So kind of like Damari Nelson we mentioned before. Kuhn was a JV player mostly last year. Didn't have a lot of experience coming into this year. What's he really shown you that has kind of put himself in the position that really break out this season?
Well, Will's just getting better and better. He had a good off season in the weight room and getting ready for the season. He had a good summer, came into camp in great shape, and he works hard at his job and does a good job, and that's why he's getting better week by week for us. And he is going to be a force. He's a nice, tall kid and long arms, and you put the ball up in the air, usually he's going to go up and get it. But he's just doing a great job. He's developed and grown, and he's making it tough on defenses because they just still do have to worry about Colicchio on one side, and now you better worry about Will Kuhn as well. And a couple of our other receivers are doing a nice job too. So Nathan was able to distribute the ball amongst a group of receivers, and that makes it tough on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have multiple positions. Obviously, Wyatt Staley came in big with that big 50-yard touchdown, helped add to that momentum there in the second half. I don't think you got quite as much receiving out of that position last year, so kind of getting that threat there obviously has to help you out a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does. Wyatt's growing and getting better and better in our program too. He's gotten better. This is really only his second year with us. He's a junior academically, but his freshman year he was hurt the whole season. So he never got it on the field or got on the practice field even. So he's like a sophomore, and he's just getting better week by week as well. And so he's done a nice job. We've seen the progress in him and so on. So I think he's adding to. He gives us another dimension there, no doubt about it.
So as you mentioned each week, the biggest game you guys have is the one you have next. So the most important game of the season is Buff State now. They're coming off a 40-24 win over Morrisville. Their offense relatively balanced statistically. Their defense last week really shut down Morrisville's run, which really was the difference in the game. Biggest offensive threat, Dale Stewart, who's solid running back, but definitely not no Andrews. So what are you guys doing specifically to help yourself win this upcoming game?
Well, we got to stop Stewart. He's their main offensive threat, and he's a good football player. He's a good-sized back. His brother plays for the Green Bay Packers, so he's got good bloodlines and that. So he's a very good football player out of Niagara Falls High School, and we've got to stop him. But then they got Trey Jones right behind him. Trey's from Greece Athena here in Rochester, and Trey's got some wheels, and he can break off a long one too. So they have two really good running backs back there, and so on. And then they've got a couple nice receivers. Their one receiver is 6'4", 218-pound wideout. That's a tough guy to handle. And their tight end, Matt Jones, he transferred from the University of Texas El Paso. He's a 6'6" tight end, and so he's a threat too. So they got some other threats, but Dale Stewart's still their number one threat.
All right, and a quick injury update. Obviously, Tony Fusco, we mentioned last week, might not have played, didn't play this past week. What's his timeline? Is it looking like he's going to be good for this upcoming Saturday?
I don't believe so. I don't believe Tony will be back for at least 2 more weeks. So we'll see. Hopefully he will mend real quick and get it back in the lineup for us and help us out.
All right, awesome, Coach. Well, thanks a lot for coming on again. Best of luck this upcoming weekend.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us again.
Up next, seniors Anthony Lee and Jordan Schofield will be on, so don't move.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by 2 seniors on the team. We got Anthony Lee and Jordan Schofield. Happy to have both of you guys on.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll start with Anthony. This past week you were credited with 11 tackles. Dan Andrews for Brockport obviously had a big game against you guys offensively. Had 4 touchdowns. Obviously went off in that first half and they built that big lead. How do you think your defense kind of played as a whole on Saturday?
I think when we start off, we didn't really start off the way that we know that our Fisher defense can start off the game. It's just that we were just getting blown off the line, essentially, and then we just needed to start, working on what we've been learning throughout football is basically tackling. If we have all of those things together, then I think we can play really well, and that's basically what happened in the second half is we came out, we were ready to dominate, and that's what we did.
I mean, I know you personally had a couple big touchdown-saving tackles where you were kind of the last line of defense, kind of saved a couple of touchdowns. So plays like that, you just go in there. Does anything run through your mind like I got to make this or else you're scoring, or you just kind of go out there and do it?
I'm always on the prowl to make a tackle out there, and so whenever I find the opportunity, I think it's really important to help the team and our defense make those key tackles. So when I'm back there and I see, someone like Dan Andrews is free coming through second level, I know that that's my opportunity right there that I need to, get it together and make that tackle. So it puts a lot of pressure on me, but it's something that I enjoy and I like tackling, so that's why I like doing that.
And obviously coming into Brockport, you know that they're a run-heavy team. Especially being in the secondary, you're kind of like, you're not really one of the first lines of defense in that scheme. You're more worried about pass, obviously. So how do you as a secondary player kind of go out there and prepare a little differently for a team that you know is going to be heavy on the run?
Well, when we have teams that are really heavy and we know that they're heavy on the run, we always have to make sure that we don't second guess ourselves and think that, they're not going to pass the ball, because that's usually where we get too comfortable with the run and then they pass the ball, and that's how they, manipulate our defense. So basically I am a pass-first defender, so I was making sure that the ball was handed off and it was ran, and that's when I would just come up and fill wherever I needed to fill there.
And so Jordan, forget about you. The big story offensively was your 35-point outburst in the second half after kind of being held, relatively in check the first half. What did you guys really go out there and do differently that really helped you guys go out and have that big outburst as far as adjustments or anything?
We didn't really we made some adjustments, but in the first half, penalties, drop balls, just really killed us in the first half. So in the second half, we didn't really change much. We ran our offense, just stayed composed, and the biggest thing was finishing drives. We drove on them in the first half. They ended short on drop balls and penalties and stuff like that. So we really emphasized finishing the drives in the second half.
So anything different play calling wise or anything? I mean, obviously you had a lot more big plays. Was that just more, like you said, execution?
I mean, we passed a lot more, which, I mean, it was working, so why not? But we were also down, so we didn't really get to run the ball much, which is not really what us offensive linemen like to do, but we had to go with it.
So obviously, the last drive, you guys know you're down by 3 points. You had a minute and a half on the clock. What's running through your head as you're running out there for that drive, and as you guys are kind of driving down the field, getting in position to score?
Actually, Morrisville from last year popped in my head because we had the same situation. So going out there, just trying to stay calm, stay composed. You know, we practice this twice every week, and we're pretty good at it. We like to go fast, and when we go fast, the defenses can't really keep up with us. So just staying composed, staying calm, knowing that the guy next to me was going to do what he had to do, and I was going to do what I had to do.
Were you ready for that last play where Nate just kind of runs up under center and has to take that snap and go in?
I actually was telling Kramer the whole time we were in the goal line, like peekaboo, because that's our QB sneak play, and no one wanted it because we didn't have any timeouts. So if we stopped, we couldn't. We were really screwed. So I was calling it the whole time, so I was happy that he called it. That put us in good position.
All right, moving back to Anthony, a little away from football. You're known mostly on campus, not for your ability on the field, but as president of SGA, Student Government Association here. So I mean, that's a pretty big role, and obviously football, being a starter on the football team, takes a lot of time too. So how do you kind of balance your time between your major, playing football, and kind of being president of SGA here?
So I would say it really makes me utilize my time very valuably, and basically I just got to stay focused on the tasks that I'm doing. So when it comes to schoolwork, I need to set enough time for my schoolwork, and then I have practice, so I dedicate all of my time to practice, and then after practice I work on some SGA stuff. So I have an agenda, I use the calendar, planners, all that good stuff, to stay organized with my time, because I can't mess around with my time a lot, because then I get behind in one thing. And then when I'm switching gears, so when I'm going from SGA to football, or from football to homework and schoolwork, I really need to key into what I'm doing, and that's where I kind of leave my mindset of SGA, go to football practice, focus on football, leave football, and then focus on SGA or other schoolwork that I do. So I would say, there's a lot of things going on in all three of those areas, but I try to stay, focused on one thing at a time.
Anything coming up you want to plug real quick?
Well, I know we have Spirit Week this week for SGA, so we're heading that. Today was our first day. We started off with some free breakfast in the campus center.
I saw that.
Yeah. Throughout the week, we're going to have different social media contests. We have a door decorating contest coming up on Thursday. Alumni Weekend is a big thing that our school, the college, is trying to do as a whole. So hopefully we get a lot of students out to connect with alumni, but also attend the many events that they're putting on this weekend.
All right, moving back to Jordan, a little bit back into football. Big story we had last week going into this game was the fact that you guys are going to be playing without Tony Fusco. Still a little bit up in the air about status for this upcoming weekend, but you played this last weekend without him. Had to play James Chambers almost all the snaps, and he has a different style than Fusco. So offensively, did you feel that the play calling was different, or that anything was different having James back there almost 100% of the snaps?
The play calling wasn't really anything different than what we were used to. We still ran the ball. His running style is a little different than Tony's. He likes to get out and run. But we don't change our blocking for that. We just block it the same way and try to open up the holes just like we did for Tony, and we expect him to hit the hole and go.
All right, and then moving ahead, you got Buff State this upcoming weekend. This past week against Morrisville, they had 11 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. I mean, their defense played pretty tough. How are you going to go out there? They have a lot of momentum right now on that side of the ball right now. What are you guys going to do offensively to kind of help bring them back down to earth a little bit?
Well, we're going to prepare for them just like we prepare for any other team. They're big up front. Like you said, they had a lot of sacks last week. They run a 4 front just like Brockport did this past week, so that was nice, getting a little warm-up, I guess you could say, going into Buff State. And then last year was a bitter loss against them. On defense, they really killed us last year, kind of like last week. So, I mean, I guess, we'll just prepare for them like we usually do for everyone else, and hopefully our game plan's better than theirs.
And Anthony, if you really want to kind of look at the blueprint for how to shut down Buff State, you'd probably take what Alfred did. Their second game of the season, it was a loss for Buff State. Alfred was able to hold them underneath 200 yards offensively. So what defensively are you guys going to be kind of going out there and doing, trying to replicate that performance that they put on?
I think we just continue playing Fisher defense and just blow everyone off the line. Basically, that's what it comes down to. And doing what we were taught to do throughout camp is basically tackle and making sure that we're making those key tackles, making those key plays. And I think it's going to be really important that we get turnovers on our defensive side of the ball. So we get interceptions or fumbles, force those turnovers, and then we could really win on the defensive side.
All right. Well, thank you guys both for being on. Best of luck this upcoming weekend.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. Assistant head coach Jim Scacchetti will be on next. You won't want to miss it.
Get up, I know you found a way. Head up, look through those clouds of gray.
Now it's our turn. Go to ourturntohelp.org and donate what you can. Hope is on the way.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by assistant head coach Jim Scacchetti. Happy to have you on, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, before we talk about specifics of the game, you yourself are a Brockport grad. So I know you've been here 26 years. You've been here at Fisher for a while, but is it still a little weird going back to the place, your alma mater, and coaching against them?
I wouldn't say it was really weird, but there's definitely added incentive, to go back to where you used to play, and it's we've been pretty fortunate, so we've beaten them 3 years in a row. So
yeah,
got a little hairy there in the first half, but but it really was. It's definitely one that we were, personally I marked down on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And so your title is assistant head coach, but also offensive line coordinator. You work closely with the big guys up front. So as you mentioned last week when Nelson Coleman was on, kind of statistically, if you're looking at it, really rushing yards and sacks given up are the big stat numbers to look at. This past week you guys had 115 yards rushing and 2 sacks. So so a little underneath your rushing average, but obviously without Tony Fusco. How do you think that your guys did overall this past weekend?
I think in the first half we were kind of hit and miss in a lot of things. The fact you never like to give up sacks, obviously. But I think one of the big things that in the second half, we did a really great job. We didn't give many sacks. We were able to gain some yards. Obviously, when you miss your top running back and Tony Fusco, I think it's definitely something where other people have to step up. And I'm not exactly thrilled with our output. That's something we really have to work on, and I think if we're going to get better and if we're going to compete, down the rest of the season, we have to get better in the rushing department.
But at the same time, overall in the season, you guys are averaging just a shade under 162 yards rushing a game. Have given up 9 sacks overall, so about 2 a game. Not too bad. What do you think about your unit as a whole through this season? I know that there's been some ups and downs. Obviously, the Olivet game was really high. Like we said, you mentioned this past week. Not the best performance they've put out, but overall for the first 4 games, 4 wins. What do you think?
No, I can't say that I'm not pleased. Anytime you're 4-0, but it's kind of like it's a journey in the sense that each week you're trying to get better, and that's why we watch so much film and. But we if we're making mistakes, it's something we have to definitely improve on. As far as a group, though, too, I'll be honest with you. I've been here for 26 years, like you said, and it's probably the most courageous comeback I've ever seen. The guys played their hearts out, and it was really something to be part of, I really admire and respect each one of those kids, because at halftime it was a little tough, and I was a little tough on them, and they responded really well, and. So overall, I'm pleased with the group, but I think again, it's a week-to-week, day-to-day progression where you're trying to get better every day. You can't ever be satisfied with where you're at.
So you mentioned you've been here 26 years. You've got this current O-line group, as we've mentioned the first couple weeks of this show, mostly returning from last year. So you've been working with these guys for a while. What do you like most about this current kind of unit you have up there up front?
Well, the thing is, like you say, I have worked with a lot of these guys, and I actually recruited quite a few of them as well too. But the fact of the matter is that, I would say, overall as a group, is the camaraderie that they have. I think that's something that's kind of unique with the offensive line because again, it's a different situation. You're not getting your name written down on paper, and they're not calling your name for a pancake block over the loudspeaker. But, I would say this group, again, like me, is a situation where, each day we're getting, we're getting better, we're getting closer together. And like I said, I've known these guys for a long time, but at the same token too, it's like, you got to be a representative for the younger kids on the program that aren't playing now. So I'm pretty happy with the leadership that we have right now in the offensive line.
So, mentioned a couple of times, been here a while now. This year's team off to a 4-0 start. Last time you guys started off this well was 2013. We actually started 5-0, ended up making to the NCAA quarterfinals. So relatively close. A lot of the seniors on this year's team were freshmen on that team. Do you see any similarities between that 2013 team and this current year's team?
It's funny. Each team is different. And the fact of the matter is that, some of those guys that actually did, that were freshmen and actually did make the trip, may have been like in the 2 deep or something like that. They don't really have the experience of like actually playing in a playoff game, and there's nothing like that. But I think, with the off season and the kind of hard work that we put in, and we hadn't been there since you said 2013, something that we were really striving to do, and that's really a goal for us this year. But each year it's different characters, it's different, different strengths every year. So, I think you just take it, as it comes. You don't try to compare it to like another team, but the team you have now, and you really want to accentuate the strengths that they have now.
So maybe not comparing teams, but in your 26 years here, what do you think? What team was the best team that you've coached overall, talent-wise, and the way they end up finishing off? That's an easy answer, obviously. I would say the 2006 team, obviously, that was the year we were actually ranked 4th in the country at the end of the year. We made it all the way to the semifinals. So, just pure record and talent, I would say probably the 2006 team is probably the most talented team. But, this team, I'll be honest with you, it has a heart. It has a really big heart. And, able to come back from a 21-point, deficit, I think that really shows a lot that this team may have something special this year. And obviously, starting off 4-0, probably playing your toughest team in the conference, their first game of the conference against Cortland, gotta feel good doing that, and then backing it up with that was really kind of the last one on the schedule. You guys went out, had the blowout win week 1. You've had a couple close games, and then this was the come from behind game. So you think that the combination of all 4 of those is going to really set you guys up, that you really haven't seen it, really aren't going to be unprepared for anything that you're going to see moving forward?
You hope so. Like I said, I think one of the things that we have to be more consistent. You mentioned the first game, and obviously that was a game where we scored 28 points in the first quarter. So, and they were not a bad football team. And the fact of the matter is, we weren't finishing some of the other schools. Cortland, quite honestly, that shouldn't have been a close game either. If you look at the first quarter, we were up at one point, I think 24-10, and we fumbled the ball going in, and so I think we have to get in a situation where we have to have the, I hate to use the word, but kind of a killer instinct. When you have a team down, you keep them down. This week was a little bit different, obviously, where you got to play 60 minutes, and the last 30 we took care of business in the first 30.
Really quickly, your final question. Obviously, Buffalo State up this upcoming weekend. Defensively, they give up, if you're looking at just your O-line group, they give up 167 yards rushing. They have 9 sacks in the season, so almost nearly identical to what you guys are putting up offensively. What are you guys going to be looking to do to kind of lean that matchup more your way?
Well, the fact of it is, Buff State's they're very physical up front. They always got those big 2 defensive tackles. I think one of the big things we have to work on, and something that that we're going to game plan for is to attack them where they have weaknesses. They're a very aggressive football team. A lot of times they're caught out of position because they are so aggressive. So we're going to try to take advantage of that, obviously. And again, your best laid plans, you go into a game and you say, geez, I want to do this, but then that's not working. Something else opens up, and your game plan can change within a matter of 1 quarter. So you never know how it's going to work out.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on, Coach. Good luck this weekend for the rest of the season.
Thanks for having me.
That's our show for this week. Be sure to check back next week after the Cardinals take on the Buffalo State Bengals. For Cardinal Television, I'm James Bailey. Catch you next time.